What is going on YouTube? Just helping you out here. And in this video, I am going to be unboxing the Lakai Manchester Suede skate shoe. This pair in particular is size 11 and is the gray-red colorway. Once I have used them for a bit of time, I will likely make a review video where I share my experience with them. Alright, let's get right into this. So as always, I like to get started with the packaging, and here we have a standard hinged shoebox, and in Lakai's case, it is their standard blue color. Now on the top here, you can see that we have a nice big Lakai logo here, and then we do have these two holes on either side, and these can kind of serve a dual purpose. They can be a ventilation hole to let the shoes breathe a little bit, and if you have several boxes stacked up, they make it a lot easier to grab one from the middle, since you can stick your finger in one of the holes and pull it from the stack. Alright, now if we take a look at the front here, you can see it says Lakai Limited Footwear, and on the bottom, you can see there's a little pattern down there. Now, if we move over to the right here, you can see it just says Lakai with the Lakai logo. If we take a look at the back, again, we have a Lakai logo, and at the bottom, it gives you Lakai's website and their Instagram page. And if we move over once more, it again says Lakai with a Lakai logo, and then down here we have some more information about the actual shoe. So again, it is the size 11 Manchester gray-red suede colorway, and you can see there's a little digital image of it right here. Alright, now if we quickly take a look at the bottom, you can see it says Lakai, designed in California, and it again has their website and Instagram, and these were made in China. Alright, so that's enough about the packaging. Let's open these things up. Alright, so it looks like we have some paperwork on top, so we'll get started with that. And this right here is a little booklet that contains pictures of their team skating, as well as some of the products that are in their catalog. And the other side is pretty similar as well. And if you open this up all the way, it turns into a nice big poster. I think this is pretty cool that they sent this. And so I'm going to go ahead and set that off to the side so we can get into the shoes. Alright, so here we do have some standard Lakai tissue paper to protect the shoes inside the box. So I'm going to take them out of the box now, and we'll talk about one of the shoes. Alright, so since these shoes are essentially mirror images of each other, I just need to talk about one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the left shoe, and as always, I'm first going to get started with what we have on the sole. Alright, so we have a gum-colored sole, and I would say the pattern is fairly simple. We essentially have a hexagon pattern, and that goes all the way from the toe to the heel. Up in this area here, the hexagons are slightly different. You can see that they are connected, and there's also a hole in the middle. And then down here by the heel, you can see they don't have a hole in the middle, but they are connected. Now, I'm not particularly sure if that has any sort of functional purpose, so if anyone in the comments is a shoe designer, feel free to let me know if there is. Now, as far as grip goes, each of these little hexagons should be able to flex in any direction, which will help provide grip either on the ground or on your skateboard. In the middle here, we have a nice big white Lakai logo, and if I get up close, you can see that there's sort of a cobblestone pattern on there, and then we also have some Lakai lettering right here. And you'll notice that this piece of the rubber is actually solid and doesn't have that hexagon pattern. And as we move away from the Lakai lettering, the solid rubber does get thinner, but it does wrap around the entire outside of the sole. Alright, so that's about it for the sole. So I'm going to go ahead and move up to talk about this side of the shoe. So the midsole has a few different patterns on it. So you can see we have a thicker portion here that doesn't really have a distinct pattern. It just kind of looks rough. And if we look above that, we have a thin layer that sort of has a diamond-shaped pattern on it. And then we have another thin layer above that that's just kind of a smooth rubber. And if we take a closer look at the front, we have a thicker band that contains that diamond pattern. And if I tilt these, you can really see that that piece comes off the shoe a bit more. And that's a pretty common thing to have on skate shoes because you're going to be flicking this area of the shoe a lot and it's going to wear down. So having a thicker piece of rubber there helps the shoes last longer. Now, if we move up to the main body of the shoe, you can see that we have two distinct colors and materials. So we have a suede leather that you can see over here, right here where the eyelets are, as well as on the back. And to me, that's kind of a cross between a gray and a tan. And then in the middle here, we have a mesh that is more of a silver color. And on top of that mesh, you can see that we have a red leather Lakai logo. Now if we go ahead and move to the front of the shoe, there isn't a whole lot to talk about here. Again, we have this thicker piece of rubber with the diamond pattern, and we have that suede leather toe box. Now one thing to point out here is that we do have 8 small holes. At first I thought these might be ventilation holes, but a lot of the ventilation would come from the mesh, I would think. So again, if anyone in the comments is a shoe designer, feel free to let me know if you know what those are for. All right, now I'm gonna move up to where the laces go. And if I squeeze this down a little bit, you can see that we have a U-shaped piece of suede leather where all of the eyelets are. So there are 6 eyelets on both sides, and the eyelets are essentially just punched holes in the leather. And down here we have an interesting little triangle stitching going on. The actual tongue is made out of a similar mesh material to what we saw on the first side. It feels like there's some padding in here, but I wouldn't say it's a ton. And at the top here, there's a little tag that says Lakai. There's a Lakai logo up here, and it says Manchester. And just above that, there's a piece that's stitched onto the top of the tongue. And now I'd like to talk about the laces a little bit, so I'm gonna fish them out of here. And it looks like we have some tissue paper acting as a shoe tree, so I'm gonna set that off to the side and fish out the laces. All right, so these are some standard flat laces that are also gray, and the aglets are that standard hard plastic. Now, I have owned several pairs of Lakai shoes in the past, and one thing that I have found common with a lot of them, at least in my opinion, is that the shoelaces tend to be too long. So that's just something to be aware of. All right, so I'm gonna stuff these back in here so we can talk about the inner side of the shoe. This side is actually pretty similar to the other side, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time here. So just to reiterate, we have multiple patterns on the midsole. We have the thicker portion here. We have multiple sections of that tan gray suede leather. We have the silvery mesh in the middle, and we have the red leather Lakai logo on top of that. So now moving on to the back, you can see that we have Lakai stitched in red up here. We have a little stitching that goes through here as well. And then on the bottom, the midsole is the same as the other sides, except we have this little tag on here as well that has a Lakai logo and says that Lakai was established in 1999. Now, if we take a look at the inside, you can see that it says Lakai in there, and there's a Lakai logo down there as well. And the insole itself is red, and you can see it's made out of a compact mesh material. Now I want to see how the insole feels, so I'm just going to press on that a bit. There's definitely some give, like my fingers are sinking in pretty good, so that'll definitely help absorb some of the pressure from your feet. If we take a look at the underside of the tongue, you can see we have a little tag that says Lakai, men's 11, the style is Manchester, and it was designed in the USA and made in China. There are also these elastic bands that are attached to the tongue, and that's to help keep the tongue tied down and in place, but it also allows you to pull it up so you can actually get your foot in the shoe. The material on the inside around the heel here is pretty similar to the mesh out here. It's just a little bit different color. Instead of being a shimmering kind of shiny silver color, it's a light gray. And that is also the same for the underside of the tongue. Now just feeling around the ankle area here, kind of similar to the tongue, there's definitely some padding in here, but it's not really a ton. And the back here is definitely a lot more rigid than the rest of the shoe. So you can hear that. There's definitely some hard material in the heel here, but the rest of it just kind of gives very, very easily. Now, I do like that these shoes have a decent bit of mesh. Pretty much this entire middle section right here is all mesh. And in this area here and on the other side, it is very, very thin. So it should be very breathable, and the wind and such should be able to flow through that, which, you know, skateboarding, you definitely get sweaty and your feet are going to get sweaty. So having that extra breathability and ability to ventilate and cool, I think is actually going to serve these very well. I'm only just noticing this now, but these two shoes actually do look a little bit different. So if we compare the toe boxes here, you'll notice the one on the left just kind of looks cleaner. Like if you look at the suede leather of this one, it almost looks a little more rough and straggly. And these holes are also a lot more crisp on the left one, as well as the stitching in this area and the cut around this piece of suede leather here. This is certainly not a huge issue at all. It's just something that I find interesting. Now, the last thing that I want to mention before I wrap up this video is that I am really looking forward to giving these things a try. As I've mentioned before, I've had a lot of different Lakai shoes, and for the most part, I really don't have anything negative to say about them. This video is not sponsored at all, although that would be pretty cool. I just genuinely enjoy Lakai's products in pretty much every way. I tried a lot of skate shoes over the years, and once I realized I wasn't going to find another brand that was better than Lakai, I never tried a different brand again. Alright, so that's about it for this unboxing. Feel free to check out all my other unboxing videos in the playlist in the top left corner. If you enjoyed this one, please drop a like, leave a comment if you have any questions or an idea for a future video. Feel free to follow my socials in the description below. And lastly, please don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends about my channel so I can grow and help more of you guys out. I'm just helping you out. See you in the next video.